And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
Welcome in another edition of TigerBait Live. Buddy Songy here with myself, Mike Scarborough. Got a lot to discuss. Obviously, LSU coming off of another loss to Alabama, and Kim Mulkey and her LSU women's basketball team start the season off with a rude awakening in Las Vegas, Colorado. We had her press conference earlier today. We can hit on some of that. First day of the early signing period was today. Both men and women basketball programs get some signees. Big visit weekend for football recruiting, and we're already compiling that list on TigerBait, so we're going to be having that for you in the next few days. Cambridge is in for an official visit for the LSU women's basketball program. Kim Mulkey said that they expect maybe to sign 2 or 3, or hoping to sign 2 or 3 more, along with Jada Richard in the early signing period. And we've got all that for you. Of course, the official roofing company of TigerBait.com brings it to you, and as well as some of our other sponsors. And please hit that like button if you're enjoying the show. Welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike Scarborough, the publisher of TigerBait.com. Been doing it a long time. Hope everybody doing well on this Wednesday night. We have a lot of reflective opinions tonight. And when you get that third loss, Mike, I think at this point everybody is trying to ascertain, were those 3 teams that beat LSU better? Were they better coached, deeper, better players? And what moving forward to expect from this year. So a lot of different perspectives. I will add one early footnote. When Brian Kelly was coming over here and he was going around to talk to everybody, he said, I'm going to recruit character just as much as talent. With LSU making to Atlanta that first year, Mike, those expectations got through the roof. And he even said it earlier in this year, even though they were preseason 5. We're still probably a year away. They better finish strong in recruiting, and looks like they're going to have to use the portal. So a lot to tie into with all of that. But 6-3, and most people are a little disappointed right now. We'll talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you what this is. And you're right. When you get the 3 losses and you're no longer talking about being a possibility for Atlanta, you really get – look, there's a lot to play for. Certainly, you can win 9 games, win a 10th game in a bowl. I get all of that. But a program like LSU's that has had such elite success, you're already starting to think about all the changes you're going to make in the offseason, how you need to finish this recruiting class, what are you going to do in the portal. The rumors are already flying about possible new coaches coming in and who's not going to be back. Some of these DBs that have been inactive, I'm hearing they're not even practicing. Not even going to be on the football program next year. So there's going to be a lot of movement there. But I think this is going to be one of the more crucial off seasons for Brian Kelly, because look, we're going to find out. It's day to day, and he addressed whether Jaden Daniels will play Saturday night. Either way, I think it can be a positive to see what Nussmeier's got and him given an opportunity. That was one of the things we thought was important for this season, for Nussmeier to get some real game experience, so you know what you have going into 24. But at the same time, I think they've got a lot of stuff they've got to get fixed. And you look at what's going to be lost to graduation. The fixes that are needed are in some pretty large numbers. And I think what we've seen defensively is that this is it. Because of the wins last year and getting to Atlanta, I think that was maybe it was spectacular. Some things went their way, but that one team might have hid some fool's gold as far as there's a difference between team and program and where this program is. And I think you said similar things. Did that win over Alabama and that last year maybe think this program was way further ahead than it actually is?
And they did not do as good in the portal in year 2 as they did in year 1. Now, Brian Polian, we're not going to say all the crazy things about him, with politics and Twitter and all of that. But he did a great job of bringing in experienced corners that we know were pretty damn good. The kid from ULL, Mekhi Garner, and, of course, Jarek Bernard Converse. Both of those guys were 6 foot plus, 200 pounds plus, and obviously they were plug-and-play corners. Fouché, Brooks came in as your safeties. You had to rebuild the secondary again. Brooks out, Jimmy Lindsey out, Zy Alexander out, Mekhi Wingo out. Not making excuses, just talking about the reality. But, Mike, I got to tell you, between player personnel, execution, utilization of talent, and halftime adjustments, defensively has left a lot to be desired.
And what can happen here, too, is, of course, look, I know it sounds like I'm doing the worst case scenario. But look, when the defense is performing this bad and everybody in town's talking about how atrocious the defense is, I think we've used the word atrocious for our show titles 2 or 3 times in the last month. We did it in the post game. There's no better word for it. Could a kid like a Womack and some others say, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm hitting the portal. And if you're going to make changes to staff on that side of the ball, that can cause problems with that. So there's so many things that they've got to address and be on top of, and have every analyst in the building who's going to be in the program for years to come to be on top of that. And you can't let anything fall by the wayside, because you've got so many weeks there where you can't be focusing over. You have to be able to focus on over here, but you also have to know about the 4 things going on over here, or you're going to be in big trouble. All right, let's get to some comments tonight, but that's some of what we're going to be talking about tonight. James Moore, hey, Mike and Buddy, it seems like there's no leadership within the players. Buddy, where's the headhunters like Oron Landry, Brady James, Glenn Dorsey, and Devin White?
Well, some of you who are older, Mike, I mentioned this to you on the radio a couple of weeks ago. Clara and where's the beef? You've got to have snot knockers. You've got to have, like we just said, Jamal Adams and all those great DBs that have come in. LSU's a finesse defense, not physical enough. And we worried about this. What'd we say when we were leading up to gonna have to outscore people? There's no room for error in that game. 21-21, great touchdown with Lacey. You come back and score 28-21, but you lost it so quick on the defensive end, and then Alabama had 11 and a half minutes to salt it away. So you have no room for error on offense, but unfortunately, there are no Glenn Darcy's and all those physical players. I don't think there's one LSU defense player that's going to make all SEC first team, and that includes Harold Perkins, because I don't think they've got the most out of him.
I think Harold Perkins is honorable mention, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that'll make all SEC. And 3 were on the preseason team: Wingo, Mason Smith, and Perkins.
I will tell you this, and he might still get there, and because I'm a plead ignorance that I'm not really following what other freshman linebackers are doing. But had Weeks played a little bit more, I think he would have been an all-freshman, all-SEC selection. Walking up the sidewalk for BK's presser on Monday, he's coming in the opposite direction, looking totally healthy and cutting up with some friends, I guess, between classes. And but where's he been? Playing so well on all these issues on defense. He's the future.
I've gotten in quite a few arguments with people about that, and of course the coaches are saying he doesn't know the defense and he doesn't know every responsibility. I know one thing: he looks like he shot out of a cannon when he's rushing the quarterback. And when I'm seeing Omar Spates, who I liked a lot in the fall camp, I don't know if that guy's good enough or fast enough to tackle SEC stars. But after what I saw in the first half, A, I would have had a spy on Milroe, and B, Whit Weeks would have seen the freaking field. Sorry.
Here's the
just
thing.
me.
Isn't it funny, though? Because that's not the only coaches on the LSU campus. If a freshman makes a mistake, you can't live with it. Or the freshmen are held to a different standard. Freshman mistakes is just something but you're willing to accept mistakes from upperclassmen.
By the way, Toviano, who we did think was going to be one of the better freshmen, I thought he played pretty damn good for being his first start at corner. He's physical. He's smart. He's a character guy. Unfortunately, Sage Ryan has had to play far too much corner than you wanted. We know Major and Sam have done a good job respectively, but man, those linebackers are so disappointing. I think the biggest disappointment on defense, the secondary, but man, we all thought, when you have 2 preseason all SEC first teamers, that D-line's been a big disappointment.
Oh, absolutely.
Super big.
Absolutely. Guy Brooks, good evening, TigerBait family. How does recruiting look for defensive linemen? And that's where it's, I feel a reason to be nervous. Relaford will be on campus from Evangel this weekend, but he's an edge guy. When it comes to interior defensive linemen, it is scary for LSU right now. And let's see how it plays out. I just fear they're going to reach on some guys, and we're going to see how this plays out in the coming weeks.
Well, look, I mean, I never tell media people to ask questions, but I'll ask this question to you. So who is in charge of going into the portal and getting D linemen? Because LSU, regardless whether they want to or not, they're going to have to go spend money to get some D linemen. But who is that responsibility on that staff? Is that Frank? Is that how does that work?
There's somebody that just watches it all day long. Anytime someone goes in there, and then I'm sure they ring a bell, and if it's a defensive lineman, they immediately run in there. And I'm assuming they probably in this state sent it over to Jimmy Lindsay. I'm just trying to have a mental picture of where he's at and what he's doing. I'm assuming he's doing some work from home. He is talking to recruits. It sent it up to BK, sent it to Frank Wilson. But you've got to watch it all day long, and you're at the mercy of what actually goes in there.
And you got to get lucky.
I'm not suggesting there's any tampering going on, but I'm sure there isn't a defensive lineman in the country that doesn't know LSU's looking.
Well, I was just who was responsible for that, but Savion Jones, Mekhi Wingo, and Mason Smith are all draft eligible. I have no idea what any of those 3 are going to do, but I don't know. I don't see any of them that have played well enough to go out, but they draft on potential. So, we thought those guys could all leave. We'll see what happens there.
Freaky Fried says the biggest fixes to me are on the defensive side of the football. Absolutely. I think they definitely need to work on some quarterback spy plays. We have good linebackers. We have potential. Just have to play great. I honestly think, when we talk about defensive players, if you hold on to everybody, I think you're actually going to be fine at defensive back with what you've got coming in this freshman class, getting some guys healthy for next year. And then let's see a couple more that they might pick up in the portal. And I like the linebacker position as well. It's the defensive line that is the biggest worry for next year. Todd Davis, the 2003 national championship team, returns to Death Valley on Saturday night. Yes, indeed.
20-year anniversary. I don't think Coach Saban is going to be there. He's coaching. By the way, Alabama wins the West and goes to Atlanta if they beat Kentucky, 11 o'clock at Kentucky Saturday morning. And
maybe they'll let them record a video and they'll play it over the yellow.
I don't know. But the other big game to watch, of course, Ole Miss at Georgia, 6 o'clock Saturday night. I'll be watching that game as well as LSU Florida. You're going to the LSU Florida game in the press box. One of the reasons I don't do that, I want to watch more games than just LSU and see how LSU stacks up with the other teams that particular day.
We need a spy on Mertz. Going to have to tackle well and play good coverage on the back end. Yeah, don't discount Florida's offense.
ATN, what do you give us the real reason on why he didn't end up at LSU?
I don't think he was a take for LSU.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that was, of course, with running backs, I mean, you can't take everybody, but for a while there, remember they had laid obviously on his brother and botched that. And then, I think early on there was some interest there, but something happened between the cracks. But kid's pretty good,
Yeah, a lot of attention. Okay, that would have been the same class as Moss. Who was the other kid in that class? Anyways, Fire 3449. Mike, did you notice how ESPN keeps talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. as if he's leading the nation receiving, and they won't mention Neighbors? Well, because Ohio State is undefeated. That's why. To the victor goes the spoils. I mean, look at all those awards LSU won in 2019. Were all of them legit? Most of them were. You can debate whether that offensive line was truly the best in the country.
Yeah.
I think Joe Burrow certainly,
Sure.
They should have given him a piece of that award.
But Harrison is going to go before Malik Neighbors in the draft. He's going to probably be the top wide receiver. Look, Malik Neighbors is only the second LSU receiver to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, just like Josh Reed did years ago. But with him and Brian Thomas Jr., and I know you were happy to see Lacey make that big play, because that was a big play before halftime. He doesn't get in, LSU doesn't score.
Absolutely.
Clock runs out. But all three of those guys are going to be gone next year, by the way.
Well, and that was the deal. I have a running joke with Preston where I always say, he's good for a drive killer that really hurts LSU, but then he'll snap back after when you're really railing on him for it and do something like that. And we joked, he immediately sent me a message. Spectrum WellCare, this was a 5-year rebuild to begin with. I don't know about a 5-year rebuild, but it certainly was a 3-year.
Yeah, I think 3 years. And if you go back and remember earlier in the year, BK did say they were a year away with recruiting for depth purposes. Look, folks, it's easy to get to 44. You're too deep across the board. But getting from 50 to 85, those last 30, 35 players is harder and harder to do because everybody leaves now so quickly. And that's why you have walk-ons in the spring that have got to play those spots on the offensive line and D line. Offensive line is taken care of. You look, and
when Lane Kiffin lays out the scenarios, he's absolutely right. You can say what you want about Lane Kiffin, but when he talks about the freebie to leave, and then if you graduate early and how you can cash in again, that's all true.
Yeah. He also, by the way, said some things that Brian Kelly wouldn't say, and did say he thought the play on Jaden Daniels was targeting, and said, if that's not targeting, we're in trouble. Of course, they're trying to protect the quarterback. The last 20 years, Mike, CTE, you've got to protect as many people as you can. We know the quarterback gets hit, and the head goes back, the helmet hits the ground, concussion. Tua had to fight it. He's gotten it over.
Well, the word I get from Lafayette is that the official Gotro is a big ULL man.
Well, I heard that before the game.
Be the next Ritter.
Oh, well, look, you're always going to get those kind of calls, but
yep.
That was ridiculous.
Barry Barbier nails it in my mind. And I've been saying it for weeks. They need to decide on a defensive line coach pretty quickly. I swear to you guys, every Monday I'm driving down Nicholson on the way to BK, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm going to ask today, or what's the right way to phrase it without being insensitive? What is the prognosis for Jimmy Lindsey? Do you see him? Is he getting to the point where you can picture him, being there in the spring and out in the heat and coaching? Or are you in a Craig Thorpe deal where, you got to bump a guy down to being an analyst so he can stay on the insurance? But this is it's a sticky situation. Absolutely.
Well, here's a question, Mike.
But I was told he was at the Army game in the press box.
Yeah. But here's a question. Has his situation hurt defensive line recruiting?
Absolutely.
But that's what I'm saying. You ask that question, and then he's got to tell you which way he's going to go forward. And obviously, everybody I talk to in the media, and you know what happens when you assume, but assuming that something's going to happen with House. Do you buy that? You think House is done?
3 weeks ago, I said no way. But I'm starting to think that it's a lot more possible than I thought it was 3 weeks ago. People were getting mad at me for saying he isn't going anywhere, and now I'm thinking that it is possible.
Well, third down defense has not improved, and look, they don't have enough players on defense. We all knew that. We saw the secondary.
I can tell you this though, if any fans worried about BK being hard-headed like Les Miles and not cutting people loose or making changes, they are sadly mistaken. That is not his MO. Not at all. Jake Gillard, what needs fixing? How about the defense of forcing punts every once in a while and stop playing basketball on turf? Bill Frere, poor job in the portal, actually terrible / coaching, defense, and special teams with some part in costless games. Absolutely to all of those. And guys, big group in here already tonight. Spread the word that we're live. We're going to go probably to right at 9 o'clock. If you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. And, of course, we're brought to you each and every week by Mike and Alex over at Pride Roofing. And let's hear from them.
Hey, it's Michael and Alex again with Pride Roofing. Here we grow again. Did your roof get to Niger and Hurricane Ida?
The insurance company is playing game with you.
Don't forget, August 29th is your 2-year anniversary to make a claim.
Your neighbor got new roof. Why not you?
Pay your deductible. We're fortified, certified.
We do your roof. You came on the Pride umbrella. Bet on Pride.
855
Pride
16.
There it is. Give them a call, 855 Pride 16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. And with your free roof inspection, they're going to pay for you to have free TigerBait premium for a year anywhere in South Louisiana, North Shore, New Orleans, Houma, Baton Rouge, new office right on Government Street. And, of course, based out of Hammond, after moving from Albany to Hammond, nobody does it better. Mike Faraday, an LSU grad and a Broadmoor High grad, and I've known them my whole life. And they stand by their product. And a good friend and fan of the show just got our new roof put on last week, and he's absolutely happy with everything that they did because everything they promised came true.
Always a free roofing inspection. And folks, these are the kind of people you want to do business with, Mike. Not only commercial, residential, metal roofs, so big and hot right now, shingled roofs, all of the things that you need, from repairs to re-roofs, construction, all of the warranty, all of the TLC, that word right there. And we thought that we were going to have a little LSU pride. Now, look, they're not sponsoring the defense this year, but they are sponsoring the offense. And all they ask, Mike, Alex, everybody over there talking to Shelly today, give them an opportunity. 275-2041. We are expanding in Baton Rouge. If you get an answer machine, please leave us a message. 855 Pride 16 have done a fantastic job, as you alluded to. Hammond, North Shore, all of that. Give them an opportunity. Trust me, they're going to do it the right way. And as always, tell them Mike and Buddy sent you over.
American Patriot with a super chat. Thank you for that. He said Weeks not being on the field is a travesty.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Weeks. Everybody is sitting there buying what the coaches are saying. But, Mike, you see the eyeball test. Isn't it a little conspicuous that all of a sudden this kid who was just making plays and busting his tail, he went 90 miles an hour. He may have made a mistake, but he went 90 miles an hour. I'm just surprised.
I have a hard time believing that he doesn't know what he's supposed to do.
Well, he may not know the whole defense is what they're saying, but yeah, I think that's one of the errors. I think Toviano should have been playing. And please play Deshaun Womack a little bit more before he says, you know what, I'm out of here. You alluded to it.
I'm just throwing his name.
No, but a lot of them are going to
look. Those guys that are in their first year, those are the guys that, they could have a little bit of homesickness. It can be people in their ear. You didn't play because they were a 5-star and the big man on their campus in the whole half of their state. They come down here and that you don't see them much, and everybody up at home sending them email, where you at? You're not playing, and it gets to them.
They are redshirting Jackson Howard at the Jack linebacker. You could have Jackson Howard and Deshaun Womack as your bookend DNs. And no disrespect to Savion Jones and Ovio Gofu, but it has just been underwhelming this year. Mike, they keep doing the same thing, and they did it all Saturday night. Ran way too forward past the quarterback. He just steps up and runs inside. Not outside contain, right up the gut. Inside backer's not good enough to get Milroe down for rushing touchdowns.
Spectrum Wellcare says something that Brian Lazar said to me last week, and I think there's probably a lot of people that either have heard similar or think this, but says it's obvious that Brian Kelly promised Spates the starting role.
There could be some validity to that. And you know, I've had Pete Gardelli also, who's with me and been around the game for 40 years. He actually told us the kid Judkins over at Ole Miss, he sat out. They said it was an injury. You know what? He wanted more NIL money. So it's
and it could be, look, where they think, you know what, the end result might be near even between Weeks and Spates, and Spates being the senior and the guy that you promised the moon to get him here. You roll with him, but and he was a starter before he got hurt. So there you go.
It's a good point.
Yep. Todd Davis and Malik Neighbors is the highest rated wide receiver per PFF. LSU, a lot of LSU guys are high up there. Let me ask you this. I don't know what Jaden Daniels is going to do this weekend, but let's say he plays and has another big game and finishes out. Do you think that he could, even with the 3 losses, that he could sneak in and win the Heisman?
No, he can't win the Heisman at this point. I do not think
he's invited.
I think that's more likely, but
because they can take 5, right?
Yeah, they can take 4 or 5 usually.
Yeah.
Some years it's 4, some years it's 5. But look, at this point, I think what people want him to do is finish out his career the right way. He's going to be the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. You agree?
Yep.
Although, now with Milroe getting steam, but look, you look at the stats. It's unbelievable what Jaden Daniels has done. In case you missed the update, Brian Kelly said today they expected him to go and try to practice today. If he's cleared and he continues to progress, 5 steps in the concussion protocol. If he's good to go, then tomorrow he will be available for contact and possibly play Saturday night. And obviously they are trying to figure out, because you don't call the same plays with Nuss and Jaden Daniels. Obviously the quarterback draw with the empty backfield, and he's been so fantastic on that play, but he can wing it. So I kind of almost wishful thinking here. I wouldn't mind seeing both of them play Saturday night.
Andy Whitaker, if it's obvious Weeks should be playing, then why wouldn't he be? I trust the coaches. Do you trust the coaches on that side of the ball?
No, I don't this year. I think the coaches have been very, very foggy with their defensive personnel this year. I mean, look at the stats. Is Mason Smith deserving all of that PT? Braden Swinson's been playing better than OVO Gofu. Whit Weeks has more tackles at this point than Omar Spates. Toviano, you think Toviano should have been playing before this game? I do. But Caleb Jackson, you want to see him run the ball anymore?
I absolutely do.
A little bit. And Aaron Anderson, has he been developed? How about Nick Saban?
Have you seen anything this season that makes you think that John Emery should be getting more touches than Caleb Jackson?
No, I don't. That's my whole point. So, look, it's great that they still trust the coaches. I think the oddball, when you're giving up 407 yards a game and 47% conversion on 3rd down, if you think that's good enough to be competitive with the big boys, we disagree. It's not good enough. As good as LSU's offense is, right now the way LSU's defense is playing in the big games, Florida State dominated the second half. Alabama dominated the 4th quarter. And Ole Miss dominated the last 7 or 8 minutes. LSU was up 49-40 in that game. That's really the one that they'd let that one get away. Stole one at Missouri. But if they were only a 2-loss team, I think people would feel a little bit better. But I do not think the coaches have done a good job on the defensive side this year.
Not at all. But that said, there's just so many things there. There's so many reasons why, but the defensive line is just a big problem.
But got to get some physicality. I mean, I make the jokes about Sargento and Shorman, but I'm a cringe if you ever see those 2 people with corporate sponsorships at Tiger Stadium.
Huey Lipsy, I know the process has to play out, but there are a lot of questionable Brian Kelly decisions starting from last season. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you get the whole deal like, should have gone out and found someone to help with the defensive line sooner. When he went and got Pete Jenkins to come over from Florida, 82 years old. Or when it's everybody, obvious to everybody in America that Harold Perkins should be spying Milroe, and then Monday says we should have spied him more.
I can't figure out if that was hanging a coach out that invariably is going to leave at the end of the year, or if he did not go in there when they were discussing the game plan. Now, look, Kelly doesn't fool with the defense. That's Matt House. But he's got to have an overview. Harold Perkins made his brand, his reputation, and his all-SEC preseason status on spying and go and get the quarterback. And they haven't let him loose this year. Very seldom. Mind-boggling.
I was said a month or so ago that I thought the over-under on how many defensive coaches was set at about 2. I was thinking 2 or 3, and I said 2. Well, it could be the whole thing. Could be the whole side.
Yeah, I don't. We don't really like to get into all of that conjecture about who's going to be here or who isn't. But in response to our
I will say, could he keep House and then have all new position coaches? That could happen.
Yeah, you never know.
All right, guys. Let me scroll down there and see.
If Trucking by Casper does not message in a super chat to you tonight, I'm gonna get a little bit worried.
Man, he's been so generous.
No. I don't mean the money. I'm talking about he's got to come in from a.
He came in firing on all cylinders in the post game.
Oh, post game. Okay, I'm sorry, Casper, I missed you.
Yeah, Kinderkamp with a super chat. He goes, Buddy, where do you see the biggest needs are this offseason from the portal? I'm thinking defensive tackle, safety, maybe just one corner this year.
Well, obviously, they've got to figure out the D-line situation. I'm talking about the coach and the style. This is one of the bothersome things I was going to talk about tonight. It's hard when you get spoiled seeing a very aggressive press man-to-man. You remember Caleb on Chason, Grant Delpit, and all those studs, the way they peaked in 19. They were going after people and busting people in the mouth. Right now, LSU's playing like a Big 12 defense. And so you got to figure out what you're going to do with Jimmy Lindsey. You got to figure out what those 3 guys are going to do coming back. You got to get some pressure from the edge that affects every play on a passing down. And then, as we know, you've got to get more DBs because everybody is 5 and 6 wides. You play 5 and 6 nickels. And, oh, by the way, I will make a little prediction that they will go in the portal and get a quarterback. And I think that it could be, at some point. Because, Mike, just look at this game going in. If Jaden Daniels is out with the concussion, you've got 2 scholarship quarterbacks for Saturday night. If Nuss gets hurt, Collins has to play.
Absolutely.
You can't have enough. So there's a lot of issues, but most of it defense in the portal. You agree?
I do. Defensive line is, I don't know what the numbers that they've got on their board, but you got, to me, and I'm talking about interior. I'm not talking about ends or edge or rushers. I'm talking about 6'3", 300-pound guys with motor. What do you need? 3 of them at least? And then you could really have a shot in the arm if you can convince Wingo to come back. I don't know what he's going to do or what he's thinking. But I would assume that his draft stock's been drastically hurt. And if you can make the NIL deal right, you can have some luck.
I agree with that.
That would be a nice shot in the arm. It'll buy you some time. And not only that, it'll buy you some time. Then you can really see what you have in the spring. And then maybe you can address and get 1 or 2 more in May during that transfer portal period. All right, let's hear from Brittany at Drip IV. And she hooked a friend up earlier today, and you got to get over there and talk to her.
Hi everybody, we're so excited to share the news that both our Lafayette and our Baton Rouge location are offering semaglutide for weight loss. If you or someone you know are interested in our medically assisted weight loss program with semaglutide, call Kylie in Lafayette or myself in Baton Rouge. We'd love to speak with you.
Absolutely. So you've been struggling to lose weight, heard of weight loss injections from a friend or family member. This is your sign to check it out. Drip IV offers medically assisted weight loss with semaglutide. Both are Baton Rouge and Lafayette locations. Call them 225-256-3634. They're now open 7 days a week. If you need an IV drip, you're dehydrated, not feeling good, think maybe you've got a cold coming on and need your system energized, they've got it all for you at Drip IV. Right next to Sushiyama in Iverstein Farms off Perkins, and in Lafayette off of Ambassador Caffrey, off of Cordoba in the First Medical Office building on the right. Tell them you heard about it on TigerBait, and they're going to give you $10 off your first IV drip.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Let me get out of this and get back to some of your guys' comments. Hal Jubin, that Mike, before you end, what are your thoughts on both men and women basketball signings today? I don't think either one of them are done. Certainly Mulkey's not. And she kind of, I was kind of taken aback a little bit where she wants to see if she can get 2 or 3 more in this early period. It ends next week. Cambridge on campus, and we'll see. I've reached out to some of the other girls on the board to see what they're doing. I know one of them's mom would like for her to sign in the early period, but they haven't come to a final decision yet. And but this recruiting class is going to be a very strong one, as we all know. Mulkey and her staff, Gary Reedus, and all of them are just doing a fantastic job. And I do think that Matt McMahon and his staff look like they're doing darn well with all the 4 stars they brought in for visits. And every one of them are I think except one are listed LSU still on their final list. So something's going to give with a lot of these guys.
Robert Miller, the third signs today, 6'11". I'm not sure what he's weighing, 220, 225, small forward, power forward, depending on how he grows. 7'4" wingspan, can shoot the rock, can dribble it. They are ecstatic to get him. And then Givens, the point guard, who was another 4-star. Both these guys in the 40s or 50s, I saw the top 50 players. So 2 great pieces. LSU men's basketball is better. We don't know how much better until you start playing better competition later on. But as you alluded to on the show, I guess that was a couple of weeks ago, Jalen Cook, unfortunately, waiver denied. I've heard that they're going to try and sue to get him to get eligible. But we know, very seldom did it work. It worked for the cornerback at LSU a few years ago. That's one of the few things Oliva did, remember? But lo and behold, tough news for him.
American Patriot, I think Alabama beats Georgia. Saban is 4-1 against Alabama in the big game. You think Ole Miss can beat Georgia?
I do not. I think that the league is going to make sure that.
Are you like me in that you're kind of hoping that they do?
Look, Ole Miss.
I'm gonna tell you what, though. I agree with American Patriot. I do think Alabama will beat Georgia.
Look, it depends on if Alabama keeps getting better, but their defense is.
And there's a lot of people that are saying this is Saban's best coaching job, and it very well could be.
Yeah, I like Georgia to beat Ole Miss and Bama to beat Kentucky this weekend. But hey, look, one thing about Lane Kiffin now, he is with Pete Golding coming in. It does seem like they've got a better idea of what they want to do on defense. And I wanted to broach that subject earlier. Do you think LSU should be a little more attacking, more aggressive? This thing about taking 2 years to learn Matt House's defense, sitting back off the line of scrimmage and playing a lot of zone. I know they don't have enough talent, but what do you think of the philosophy? And is that a problem with finding the fit this year with Harold Perkins?
Man, with what these offenses are doing, I don't know that you can just do that full time. I mean, you need to be.
Oh, you got to mix it up. I know, but
yeah. Kindercamp with a super chat. Thank you for that. Says he went to the DeSoto Duncanville game and he likes Kalaj Cobbins over Simmons. Mike, what happened with Jordan Gilbert's recruitment and Ed Cooper? That just kind of faded on both those guys. You know, if they don't come, you just see where they go visit. where they come for unofficial visits, how often do they come? That tells you the whole story in recruiting. Now, I was talking to someone today that said that someone in the LSU athletic department said that you really don't need to recruit. You don't need to hire recruiters on your football staff anymore because it's all money and NIL. I don't think that's true. You have to have people who are going to get on the street and go visit these high schools and be there for high school games and make the phone calls. You got to have some personality there and some relationships, even though it is the NIL era.
Well, I got to ask you real quick. I did not see Kai Bates on the list this weekend. Are you worried about him flipping, as has been rumored the last?
Everybody's trying to flip him. Everybody's trying to flip him. And
what do you think will happen there?
I don't have a opinion on it right now.
Okay, because he's the best corner they've got committed, right?
They can't lose him.
Yeah, can't lose him.
But everybody's trying to. I mean, what was it 2 weeks ago? Buddy mine that covers A&M asking me for, what I'm hearing and did I have his contact number? Spectrum Wellcare, Mike, what are you hearing on Sean Washington? LSU's very interested in him. It's one of those deals where there's some extenuating circumstances why it didn't work out at Georgia, how good of a football player he is. I'm always a little leery of a guy if he wasn't going to see the field there. But I don't think that's the case with Sean. And look, I will say this. While they need some home runs in the portal, not every guy has to be a home run. If there's a guy out there that you can legit look, I know one of the discussions was when they signed Jalen Lee, if they could get 15 to 18 plays out of him a game. Well, they're not getting that. But but that's what you hope for at a minimum.
Well, we've got to wait to see if Quincy Wiggins grows up, and he hadn't been playing football that long. He's a guy that we hadn't talked about. He's been on the back burner. His best football's ahead of him. Fitzgerald West, do you see him as a guy that can get into the rotation or not?
No, I think Fitzgerald's look, he's putting in the work, but it's when the defensive line looks the way it is, and look, I think that he was signed as an offensive lineman, as a center, got moved to defense because they had depth. But I don't think Fitzgerald West is and I love Fitz, but
yeah,
I don't see him as being a starter for LSU.
So still got to add some big uglies and got to add some physicality. Our earlier guy who mentioned all of those snot knockers, LSU's got to get more physical at the point of attack. And let's be honest, you hate to admit this, Alabama won the game at the line of scrimmage. I know Milroe was fantastic, but they won the line of scrimmage, and they've got to get better at that. The offensive line, as we know, and did anybody get an answer? I'm going to have my center and my O-line guy on Friday, but did anybody ask Coach Kelly or has gotten an answer about Charles Turner and these snap problems? Not one, not two, but three. I don't know.
He basically gave a vote of high confidence to him.
I know he did, but did he blame it on the crowd noise or what? I mean, look, those were a couple of drive killers on that kind of stuff. I know it happened with Bama Center earlier, but just curious as to why after one, you should be able to fix that problem.
Absolutely. All right, let me scroll down and get some more of your comments. Bo Jack says, great insight, fellas. Carvis Durr says they have talent. The scheme is terrible. DD Louisiana would like to bring in a DC with previous SEC experience and fully knows what the SEC offenses are all about.
House was at Kentucky, unfortunately. And of course, Mike.
I will say this. I do think there needs to be more coaches. They don't all have to be. I'm not one of those guys that, says you have to be from the, here or there and have relations or be a part of a coaching tree. But Man, they do need some more coaches from the South on that staff.
Well, you've got to change up and bring in people familiar with. Look, once Jimmy Lindsey went down the situation where that played out, you got Jancic, who you brought in, then you moved him to D-line. You got Bob Diaco, who was special teams and defensive ends and linebackers, and of course Steeples and Cooks. Who look, you talked about money. Steeples worked his ever-loving butt off on Desmond Ricks last year, and they thought they had him. And guess what was the determining factor at the end?
Yeah.
So it depends on the different kids, but man, that had to hurt him.
You want a DB coach who's used to going to Florida, he's used to going to Georgia or Texas, and can recruit his position and has a reputation. And of course, that immediately is going to make people think Corey Raymond. Carversburg, we play a different brand of football down here. And that's the other part of it. You know, you start seeing offers going out in the offseason, and you see a bunch of Missouri and Maryland and New York and Massachusetts. Man, stick to Louisiana, stick to Texas, stick to Florida, stick to Georgia. I mean, if there's a can't miss kid in some place that's got a coach that was at LSU or whatever, Katrina family, then you go and venture out. But man, it's so different. That's why a lot of the Tennessee recruiting, that they don't play the style of football that they play down here. That's why I always say I'll take a 3-star from Louisiana over a high 4-star from Tennessee or Missouri every day of the week. Barry Barbier. I guess Chestnut and Harris are gone pecans. I think you might be right, Barry. I'm not hearing anything that leads me to believe they're in good standing or can be in good standing.
Well, let's give Jacques Doucet, your good buddy, and all of our good buddies. Jacques a class act, but he asked a perfect question last week at the press conference. Is it hard not to, I guess you could say, change some of your values for different players? And you know, basically you're trying to build a culture. That's what the fan base doesn't want to hear. He's still working on the culture. He's still working on the depth. He's still working on learning the SEC and himself. Nobody's mentioned. It's the first time Brian Kelly's coached Bryant Denny against Saban as an LSU coach. So still a learning process. He did tell us he was a year away. But that being said, you gotta kick it up a notch and do better, because you can't live and die with this kind of defense. You cannot duplicate this kind of defense next year, because you're losing most of your offensive stars.
The team of Koala Installation of Baton Rouge are your residential and commercial energy efficiency experts. The approaches Tim DeSalle and his Koala team provide not only help you reduce energy bills and maintain a more comfortable living environment, but they can also help reduce airborne allergens, water condensation issues, wear and tear on your HVAC system, and even lengthen the life of your roof shingles. The Koala team provides existing homeowners with a doctor's diagnosis of your home's energy efficiency, and can offer several strategies to help you stay more comfortable and save money on energy bills all year long. Koala has the capacity to tackle large spray foam projects and new home construction, while being available to help everyday homeowners get some relief from South Louisiana's extreme weather. An added bonus, most of Koala's projects qualify for federal income tax credits. So give Koala a call today, 225-457-1001, to schedule your free energy efficiency assessment. It's free. Let them come out, check out your home, get in your attic, dig around. I'm telling you, they will save you a ton of money and do great work. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait, and they're going to give you 7% off on your project. Absolutely fantastic. In fact, one of our subscribers at TigerBait who lives in Florida used one of their locations over there and had some work done, and he said it was fantastic. I got that email last week, and so good on them. But the Koala team right here in Baton Rouge, give them a call, and I've used them. That's how I got to know them, and they're fantastic.
Unbelievable reviews, folks.
Yep. DJ, do you think we can get Corey Raymond back? Look, man, the things can happen. It's look, I think the rumors are going to be going crazy in the next month, and it's that time. Like I said at the start of the show, when you've got that third loss, and we know what happens with mid-tier bowl games, and I don't know if LSU is going to be in the Texas Bowl, or they're not going to be in the Citrus because they've already been there too many times. But whatever it's going to be, and then we're going to find out what happened with Jaden Daniels. You really start turning your attention to December signing period, staff changes, and getting the ship right, and start building towards next season while you start preparing for a bowl game. And,
big game for both coaches, Mike. If Brian Kelly loses this game Saturday night, he will find out about catastrophe syndrome. Nick used to always talk about catastrophe syndrome in Baton Rouge. I like LSU. By the way, 14-point favorites. Game 6:30. I think it's going to be a big advantage.
How's that game not off the board? Not knowing if Daniels.
Well, look, they've got to.
Do you think it's 14 with Daniels? What would the spread be with Nussmeier?
Oh gosh, it certainly would be appreciably lower. But this is what I want to add. Billy Napier. You talked about Corey Raymond. Corey Raymond might be reading the tea leaves if he was to come back and leave Florida. They have LSU, Missouri, and Florida State. They don't win one of those games. They don't go to a bowl. Napier could be in a lot of trouble after this year if they don't finish well. Now, he's got a good recruiting class coming in. We know that. But really big game for both these coaches, and I like LSU. But that number does seem, as you alluded to, that's a crazy number with the questionable status of Jaden Daniels. We'll know tomorrow after practice. I think BK will give us something affirmative.
Again, guys, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. And again, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. We're loading video up every day. As you know, YouTube's free. And so when you hit that like button, you help us with the algorithm, and hit the subscribe button. We're about to hit 24,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. And thanks to all of you who have subscribed and spread the word about everything we're doing here at TigerBait. And we've got a lot more coming your way as we're forever expanding. Alumni Hall. Let's talk about them. Tiger fans, you want to show your LSU Tiger pride? Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike Champion, Nike Golf, Southern Tide, Peter Millar, Yetis, gifts, accessories. LSU students, faculty, and military receive 10% off in-store every day. And you can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall located in Perkins Row, or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And this Saturday, they're honoring the armed forces. So they've got those army green sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, T-shirts that have the American flag and the LSU logo. We've been seeing that for years. NFL teams do it. I don't know. But they've got all that stuff in stock right there in Perkins Row. Swing by and visit them, or check them out online. They've got all that stuff in stock right now. Some good-looking stuff.
Spend 15, 20, 30 minutes because you're in that area. There is always congestion and traffic. So enjoy your time in there. Some fantastic stuff, really.
Fire 3449. If anybody wondered what it's like to be an Oklahoma fan with great offense and pitiful defense, well, we now will know. When Buddy said that earlier, said they've got a Big 12 defense. I thought that was actually, denigrating Big 12 defenses, because this is worse than that, I think.
Well, the joke I've been using is that real estate prices in Baton Rouge have really skyrocketed, and $2 million doesn't really get you a good house anymore.
All right. I like that. Alan S. Why do we see so much poor tackling today? Diving at their feet, weak arm tackling. Hardly ever saw that in the Les Miles area. Kids are scared to hit and wrap up. Well, a lot of it is NCAA rules, a higher sensitivity to CTE, and the NCAA mandates how much you can be in full pads and hit and go to the ground. That's why when we first get out to practice, they're really doing the stuff about, leading with your chest and getting your chin up and proper form. It's all about safety.
But he's talking about in the game, Mike.
But I think that affects it.
I know, let's just call it the way it is. LSU secondary didn't want any part of Jalen Milroe. They didn't.
Right.
And the guy's physical and he's fast. And we were worried. You go back to Saban teaching, pad level, using the legs, exploding, getting under the guy and driving him. That's why Jack Hunt, who was pushed around his first year playing defense, pushed back his second year. Fundamental teaching, but they didn't want any part of Milroe, didn't want any part of Florida State. And unfortunately, Jackson Dart, LSU is just not physical enough on defense.
But this is an academic in college football.
It is.
It's. I mean, you watch enough football all weekend. I mean, these offenses are having their way. Even with your better defenses. So, they don't practice the way Les Miles used to practice. LSU players. Absolutely not. The NCAA doesn't allow it. Edo got the crabs. How does the poor coaching on the defensive side of the ball affect the portal? Does Perkins, Weeks, Womack, and others decide to leave? Look, you've got to stay on top of them. You got to know where they're at. You got to say, look, don't do anything until we have our end of the season. They have those meetings that they have. That's how we knew during those meetings that Besh was leaving and others. Walker Howard last year was talking about it, and then he finally did it. That's what happens.
They changed that window on the portal next Wednesday. I will have that exact date. Mike, I think it is the Monday after the SEC championship, or it's right around that time, and you got 30 days instead of 45. And so you're going to find out very quickly. Brian Kelly was very proud of the fact that nobody got in the portal and left really last year. They kept just about everybody. I don't think they're going to have that kind of success retaining all those guys. People that aren't playing right now are not going to sit another year. They're probably going to go somewhere else. But portal and finishing out the right way with the high school recruiting, very, very important, I think, for the future of the LSU defense. How quickly can you get LSU's defense back to snuff, in your opinion? And what would it take?
Man, I think you're going to have you're not going to be across the board next year saying that everything is weak. You're going to go in saying, man, I hope these newcomers and these two new corners and all this kind of stuff, who's going to play safety? You're going to have all those question marks, but I think you're going to have some answers. I think there's going to be some good young players. They're probably going to make some mistakes, but I do think the weakest link on the football team next year, as of right now, not knowing what's going to come in the portal, is going to be the defensive line. I think you're going to have enough at corner and safety, and I like the linebacker group, but D-line is going to be I think D-line is absolutely going to be the weakest unit on the football team.
Jackson Howard, number 11. They like him a lot. 6'4", about 240, 245. Look for him to be vying for the Jack linebacker in the spring. Swinson, you hope. I think he will stay and have another year. What do you think about Deshaun Womack? Does this guy see any more time? And it was a good question Krabs asked. How do you massage those guys? Because when you start getting to 3 losses, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, if I've got 1 year or 2 years, you got that one-time transfer wherever you want. Do I go play somewhere where they fit my defensive skills a little bit better? And that's where you got to have the T and the C, the trust and the communication.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very interesting next 6 to 8 weeks. Absolutely. And then it could be where you don't know all the answers until after the bowl game.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some dominoes that are going to fall, and we're going to know about the portal real quick. Once those kids start getting in the portal next month, it's going to be quick. you're going to be punch drunk from it because every time you turn around, there's going to be somebody else in there, and then everybody's going to say, "Can LSU get him?" Right?
Well, and here's the thing, folks. And I don't know. Do you agree with this saying? Wasted the second best offense in LSU history with this defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, those guys are going to be going on offense. So defense is going to have to carry their own next year for sure.
That's going to be, you're going to be talking about Jaden Daniels 10 years from now. And you're going to say, what could have been?
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. So,
look for Coach Kelly's comments after practice tomorrow. He does. And I like this new injury policy. I think he's been forthright with us, and he'll tell you if he's cleared concussion protocols, if he'll be ready to go.
Do you think he does?
Tomorrow?
If I was him, I would.
Yeah, but he has.
Not on this position.
But he has all year long on Thursday.
I know, but.
Oh, you say play possum. Okay. Well,
on the quarterback, I would.
Yeah. Okay. He might do that, but he's been honest, and he's going to get asked about it.
I mean, we're going to know soon enough Saturday night, but tomorrow I'd say, oh yeah, he practiced,
Okay. I like it.
And if I was him, I'd say it'd be a game time decision.
Hey, by the way, final comments from me. Did you guys have a lot of discussion on the post game? And I know our Preston Scone last night about Nuss Bus. You think he plays? You want him to play? And what would Denver?
I don't think it's a negative at all. I mean, certainly you want to win the football game, but I think it's a positive if you can win and he gets a lot of experience, and that way you know what you've got. You're not going in next year saying you don't know what he is or what he isn't. Because this could actually be a very similar parallel to Miles Brennan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think I don't think there's any way they don't go in the portal and get a quarterback.
Yeah, and Nussmeier still has never started a game for LSU. You said, what about Arkansas last year? Max Johnson played 2 years ago. Max Johnson played 3 series, and then they brought Nuss in. And no, I just was curious if you guys had a lot of chatter about that. But
no, I think it would be a real positive for Nussmeier. If you knew right now you're going to win the football game, that Nussmeier got the start and played a whole game, a big game on national television in Tiger Stadium.
Give me a Caleb Russian touchdown this weekend, Frank. Give him a chance. Aaron Anderson. I leave on this note. Did you hear about Saban?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you probably be playing more with me over here.
He's right.
He's right.
He's right.
And this is one of the critiques I have.
But that's because LSU's great at wide receiver.
Well, I know, but you can't give up a guy on a punt returner that quick. I just think that
I'll say this, what I said Saturday night. I don't know if you caught it. There is and maybe there's an interior offensive lineman. I don't know. But there isn't a player on Alabama's starting offense that would start at LSU, or would you trade anybody on Alabama's offense for someone on LSU's offense?
J.C. Latham is a good player. Obviously, I think Charles Turner could be replaced at center if you had a star.
Right, maybe one interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, you're right. But then again,
I like their tight end.
And then again,
I'm not.
Yeah.
Mason Taylor.
Where's Mason Taylor this year? You underutilize. Give Mason Taylor.
Whereas defense, you take every one of theirs.
Yeah.
Except one guy, Harold Perkins.
Well, and you got to fit him in the right spot still.
Yep. All right. Thanks to all you guys and gals for tuning in tonight. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe. Go to TigerBait.com and subscribe $1. You can try us out. And we'll be here on the post game late Saturday evening, close to midnight, I'm guessing, 11:30 range. And thanks to all of you again. Good night.